Are you considering buying a used sewing machine? Well, I get this phone call all the time and I'm ready to let you guys know how to purchase used sewing machines so you don't get something that looks like this. Yeah, a super rusted machine. There's a lot of things to look into when purchasing used, so we are gonna create a video just on this topic to break it down with 4 easy steps so you can ensure you're getting a great deal so you can sew for many, many years to come. Let's get started. I get this phone call on a weekly basis. I just purchased a used sewing machine and I have tons of issues. Can you help me? Or, hey, I just purchased a used sewing machine and I don't know how to use it. Or, hey, here's my machine. Can you service it? I open it up and the machine is broken. There's gears broken. They've got all kinds of issues and now they're behind the curve rather than just buying a new machine at that point. So in today's video, I want to break it down, how to inspect these machines, how to analyze, and how to just make sure you're making the right purchase. So I have created 4 easy steps to do this. The first one is going to be analyzing what sewing machine you actually need. Believe it or not, a lot of people buy used sewing machines based on the prices, and it's not really what they need, so it's already not a right fit for them. The second thing I want to talk about is gathering all the information needed when you decide what sewing machine you want so you can make sure you are getting it at the right price and you're making sure that you're getting the right accessories with the machine. The third step is extremely important, and this is going to be the inspection time. This is when you're going to take the machine apart and you're going to look for different things that I'm going to tell you about, and they're going to be pretty top secret information out there, so that way you can ensure that you're getting the right machine and you're inspecting it and you're making sure it is actually as good as it sounds, because oftentimes when somebody's selling something, it's usually their problem. So you want to make sure you inspect it so it's not your problem. And the fourth step is actually going to be finalizing the deal. Okay, we have gathered everything, we watched this video, we are ready to make the purchase. Let's make sure everything looks great, and then let's go ahead and pull that trigger and purchase the machine. So let's go ahead and start with step 1. So before we get to step 1, I have to be completely transparent with you, and we are a Juki and Janome dealership. As you can see, we have Juki sewing machine and a Janome sewing machine, and I wish I could have 1,000 other sewing machines behind me, but there's just not enough room. So we're going to be talking about tons of different machines. This video is not going to just apply for Juki or Janome machines. We are actually a very honest dealership. We provide lots of support and videos on Juki sewing machines, hence Juki Junkies, the YouTube channel. We are the largest Juki dealer for their machines and their parts, so we've got everything covered when it comes to Juki. And for Janome, we are also a very dedicated Janome dealership as well. We are Janome Junkies. You can follow us on our YouTube channel. We've got Facebook groups. We've got tons of information out there on both of these brands, and we really do like these machines. So I hope this is fully transparent so that way you know I am a dealer, but I'm just giving you my honest feedback because, quite honestly, I hate to see people purchasing things and finding out that it's not a good deal and really, losing a lot more money. So I'd rather just see you guys make the right purchase. So if you're ever looking for a newer sewing machine, you can always call us. We'll throw up our information, look in the description. But yep, let's get back to the video. So number 1 was analyzing the machine you actually need for what you're trying to do. There's so many different sewing machines, from a semi-industrial straight stitch sewing machine like this one to a computerized sewing machine like this one, where there's all different types of decorative stitches and fonts and all kinds of things you can do on this machine. So you really have to break down what machine is perfect for your needs. And if you want to learn more on that, we have tons of videos on that topic on this channel, but you can also join support groups on Facebook, you can go on Reddit, and you can post about what you're trying to do and kind of just gather information for a week or 2 before you actually make an idea of what machine you want. A lot of times people get the machines that are not really necessary for what they're trying to do, and it's not going to fit their needs properly. My advice is to join the Facebook groups, do the Reddits, watch YouTube videos, but also you can always call dealerships and kind of feel out what they might recommend for you. That's what we're really known for here, is kind of connecting our customers with the right machine for their needs. So you can always use that resource and make sure you're kind of figuring out what machine you want before you even start doing the research. So pretty much what I'm saying is you can call us and you could ask us, you're looking for a sewing machine, we'll fit you in what we think is right, and then you can take that information and you can start doing more research on that machine, looking on the used market, or possibly even getting a new one. So you can use all these resources to pinpoint exactly what machine is going to be right for you. And that's really the first step. I see it so many times, people buying the wrong machines and it's not even the right machine for them. So first, make sure you're getting the right machine. Straight stitch machines, they usually tend to have a little bit more power and they're a little bit more versatile from light to heavier weight sewing applications. This is a standard high shank foot. Computerized machines are more kind of universal machines. They're better usually for lighter weight sewing to medium weight, not too well for bag making all the time, just because there's a lot more gears and functions that are moving in these machines. So that's a little bit of information, but like I said, you can call us. You can do research on Facebook groups. We have a Juki forum, Juki Junkies on Facebook and Janome Junkies on Facebook. So once you've pinpointed the machine you need, now it's time to move on to the next step, which is making sure you gather all the information on the machine you want and making sure you actually get an understanding of what you need to find for it to be a justified purchase. So let's get to step 2. Okay, so now that we've gone over step 1, step 2 is gathering all the information on the machine you have decided. So for today, we're going to be using an example of, we'll just start with the Juki TL. You're going to look up this model, you're going to figure out what the new price is. You're going to look around, make sure they use the new prices even across the board. Okay, now we know where we're starting. Now we need to start researching what the used machine values are on these machines. Certain machines hold their values really well. So semi-industrials like this Juki TL holds their value really well. Industrial machines hold their value really well. Computerized machines, on the other hand, usually don't hold their value as well. So you can expect a computerized machine to be a lot cheaper on the used market than a new one. And then the industrials and the semi-industrials, those usually hold their value really well. So start doing research on the new machines, figure out where they're set at, what that price starts at, and then start looking at used machine markets. You can check Facebook Marketplace, my favorite place. I love Facebook Marketplace. Outside of work, I'm always on there buying little boats and fixing them up and reselling them, or just buying them as great deals and using them forever. I love Facebook Marketplace. So that's a great resource. eBay is a great place to kind of pinpoint what the market is on that product on the used side of things. So once you've kind of gathered that information, you've got the new price, you've got the medium used price, so you kind of figured out where that used price value is. Now it's time to start doing your research and figuring out which machine you want to look at. My suggestion is to not ever really buy a used machine that you can't actually test or you can't really inspect. So if you're buying one from a private person online, like eBay or something like that, you want to make sure that it is either coming with some sort of paperwork that says it was just professionally serviced by a reputable dealer, or something to make sure you really are getting everything covered and you're not going to get somebody else's lemon. Sometimes with computerized machines especially, it might sew perfectly fine, but you might find a feature that's wrong with it, and that's where you can run into issues. So you've got to be very detailed when you're looking for them to make sure you're getting that perfect running machine. So once I gathered that new price, I've gathered that used price, I'm going to start looking around the used market, and I'm going to be looking for machines that are in that price point. You want to look for nice, detailed, clean pictures, all the accessories laid out. The accessories are usually a pretty big point, because you might see this machine online on a Facebook group or a Facebook Marketplace post, and it's a great price, but then they're missing everything. They're missing the foot pedal, they're missing the extension table, they're missing the walking foot, and all those things add up. So you have to start calculating what those pieces are to buy new, because you can't really buy accessories used typically. So now that you've got that, now you've probably searched and you've pinpointed the machine you want, because now you know, okay, this machine's a good price. It comes with all the factory accessories. It comes with the user manual. If it comes with a box, that's usually a huge bonus. If it comes with a receipt indicating where they purchased it from and how long they got it, you know, how many years old it is, that's always a big plus. Once you've got that, now it's really time to start doing the inspection. And this is my favorite part. So you've kind of set up the day of meeting, and it's time to inspect the machine. Now you have two options here. You can either opt out to inspect it yourself, or you can possibly call a machine service repair center in the area, whether they're that brand specific or not, and just ask them, hey, do you guys have any services where you'll actually inspect a used machine that I'm looking to buy? and see if they'll come out and either inspect it there, or maybe you bring it into them, whether that's a small home sewing machine or an industrial machine. That's not a bad idea, especially if you're not super savvy on looking and mechanically inclined and looking into little parts and pieces on machines. So that brings us to our third step, which is inspection time. Let's go over the inspection. Third step is inspection time. By far my favorite, because you get to get in depth with the machine and really see if it's that great of a price. So now that we've already gathered the new price, the used price, we figured out what's missing out of the machine, we've calculated what those new parts would be to replace them if there's something you need, and you've got that total number. So let's just say this machine's 500 bucks used online, but it's missing 5 accessories, and those 5 accessories are $50, $100, and $50. Now it's 500 plus whatever I just said with those parts. So I think I just said $200. So now it's really a $700 used machine. So now we've got to be comparing that price with the new price. So let's say this machine's 1,500 bucks, and we just said it was 700 bucks with those new accessories. So now it's what, $800 savings essentially, if my math's right. So now we're inspecting it, and now this is where it's a very important process. And actually, before I even get to the inspection process, what I like to do is I like to just do some research on that machine model I'm specifically looking for, to make sure that there's no known huge issues out there. So there's an example I've got here, okay? So there's an F series sewing machine made by Juki, and whenever it gets close to 8, 9, 10 years, they fixed this issue already. At least that's what I've been told, and I haven't seen it. But after about 7 to 10 years, I'd say, depending on the condition, where it's been stored, how it's been treated, there is a plastic gear on it that cracks, and it causes a pretty big headache. So if you could figure out whether it's a Skyline S7 or TL, do some research, and if you could figure out if there is reported problems like that, that's important, because now when I go to inspect the machine, I want to see if that machine was in that year range that they had those issues, right? So for example, I would look it up on, like I said, Google, Reddit, Facebook groups, all that stuff, figure out if there is any of those known major issues with gears or anything like that, and that would be a factor to factor in when you're inspecting the machine. So now you'd want to be asking what year the machine is. So I think this is important across the board, whether or not the machine is known for having a recall kind of issue with a gear or something like that, because it's nice to know how old the machine is. A lot of these machine models out there have been around for 10 plus years, and expected home sewing machine lifespans are typically between 10 and 15 years. That's what pretty much all manufacturers will tell you when you call them. Juki, Janome, all the big brand home sewing machines will tell you, well, we expect our home sewing machines to last between 10 to 15 years. Now, some machines will last a lot longer than that. Some will last a little bit less than that. So figuring out what year that machine was purchased or manufactured is really important, because that plays a huge factor. You don't want to buy a machine that's only 50% off, right, on the used market, but it's 9 years old, because that machine now is getting close to its expected lifetime, and we're going to start experiencing issues internally, right? Now, not all machines are like that. Some machines will last a lot longer. I've seen home sewing machines last for 15, 20, I don't know, maybe 30 years. So it just really depends. If it's a semi-industrial all-metal machine, they're usually known to last a lot longer. I've seen this exact model, the TL18, but the original one, which is the TL98, it was created in 98, and I still see that model coming in for servicing. So that's something to consider, right? So figuring out what the year is on that machine is very important, and I would typically try to figure that out before I even make the time to go actually inspect the machine in person. So let's say we figured it out and it's reasonable and we're still happy with the price and we're happy with the savings. So now it's inspection time. Things that I like to do, and a lot of people probably wouldn't want to do this because they're not used to doing these kind of things, but I would want to take off some of the covers on the machine. For instance, I had a customer bringing a machine the other day, and she wanted me to service it. Well, after further inspection with just popping off 4 screws with the bottom cover off, I saw that the machine was actually in a flood, and the machine was completely rusted out from top to bottom. Well, could you imagine if, and I'm not saying she would have done this, but could you imagine if she had that machine, it had gotten flooded, and maybe she thought it was fine, didn't bring it in for a service and just posted it. She's like, I'm done sewing. It's all right. You know, all my fabrics got wet, and she posted it. And somebody else got it. That would have been a big issue. So it's important to take some covers off to actually see the full picture. Is the machine super rusted? Was it stored in a shed outside in the backyard? Was it an inherited machine? Now you might be wondering, what does that matter? But if it's typically something of that nature, it could be sitting in storage units. It could be sweating in a box. It could be not in a climate controlled area, and the internals could actually start getting surface rust. I've seen rust on machines that are stored inside, but just, you know, in a garage somewhere, and they're sitting in a humid area and they can become rusty. So that's really important. Where it's stored, the year it's made, and then the next couple things would be looking at the core components. So we've got the stitch plate. All machines have stitch plates. This is where the needle and the feed dogs go through. So you've got the feed dogs poking up through the stitch plate, and you got a hole where the needle goes through. You want to inspect that stitch plate for any nicks, burrs, or scratches. If the stitch plate has a whole bunch of needle strikes on it, and we'll throw up pictures so you can see, if it has needle strikes and burrs and scratches, typically your machine's going to have skip stitches and have some issues. So that's a part that you would probably want to consider replacing. And those are not typically cheap. They can be anywhere from $25 to $150, depending on what kind of machine you have. So that would be something you would have to factor in now as a replacement piece, and now that machine's closer to a new machine price. The next thing I would always like to inspect is the bobbin case. So the bobbin case on this TL is a metal one. Not much to inspect because these usually don't get any damage, but inspect it to make sure everything looks good. Inspect it to make sure, you know, the springs on the side work good. You can do that by just putting the bobbin in and tugging on the thread like this and making sure it has consistent tension. And same thing with these computerized machines. You can take that bobbin case out and pop it out. It's a plastic bobbin case. Make sure there's no needle strikes, burrs, or scratches along the edge, because if there is, you're going to have a noisy machine, skip stitches possibly, and you're going to want to replace that. And again, that part can be anywhere from $15 all the way to, I've seen them at like $100 before. So another really important part. The next thing I would want to do is, of course, the most obvious thing, which is actually probably one of the least important, is just the external of the machine, the condition that it looks in. Is it faded? Does it look like it's been, you know, plastics feel nice and firm still? They don't feel like they're dry rotted. Does it look like they maintain the machine? Does it look clean? And, you know, that's a very simple process. That's probably what most people do. And then the next thing I would probably do is go ahead and run the machine. Make sure the machine runs nice and smooth. Make sure you're actually going, not just, if it's a straight stitch only machine, run it with, you know, slow speed, full speed, max stitch length, minimum stitch length. Maybe go ahead and use all of the functions, make sure everything works. Test the bobbin winder, stitch length, needle down buttons, all these buttons work. Also, you can ask for service records. The service records are nice to know because if they're bringing them in for an annual service or biannual service, it's important to see that, to know that they're actually keeping good care of them. So once you've asked all those questions and we've done all the inspections I've talked about, if you have questions on like removing the plastics and kind of seeing the bottom side of these machines, that's where I would probably say it would be nice to just go ahead and bring it into somewhere to see if they'll have a service where they can inspect it. I would expect it not to be that expensive for somebody to want a service guy to briefly look over a machine, test it out, and do all that stuff to make sure you're making the right purchase. You could also probably watch some YouTube videos to see if, you know, there's any quick videos out there showing you how you can take off some of the plastics. But typically, the bottom side of the machine has a whole bunch of screws. You take off those screws and the bottom plastic comes off, and that's how you can inspect that area. If I didn't already mention that, because I know I talked about that, but I'm not sure if I told you how to do that. So that's something to consider. I always like to see if they have a receipt or some sort of original purchase, and that would be kind of going back to the date of purchase and all that kind of stuff. But that's always nice to know where they bought it from, if that dealership is still around. Maybe you can make a connection with them. Maybe you can make sure that, you know, they brought it in for servicing, all that kind of stuff. So I think we've gone over the inspection part pretty well. If there's anything you think I missed, drop them down in the comment section down below. I'm happy to hear what you guys have found works for you guys. Maybe you haven't found anything that works. Maybe that's why you're watching the video. So drop those down in the comment section below if you have any inspection tips that I may have missed out on, but I'm really cranking my brain right now to think if there's anything. Industrial machines, I guess we kind of could touch on those briefly. Same thing with those machines. Those machines don't really break apart, so you can't really take covers off to see the internals, but typically all you have to do is tilt those machines back and look at the bottom to see if they're super rusty, or look on the external of the machine even. And then just run the machines, run them through their paces. If it's a computerized machine, same thing. Run it through a lot of stitches. Don't just do straight stitch, do all of the stitches, and do all of the stitch lengths, and do all of the stitch widths that are on the machine, because that'll make sure that the timing is set up and running smoothly on all of those functions. So now that we've gone over inspection, I'm gonna share one quick story with you guys before we get to the final step. And this is actually a lady slash customer who came into our store, and it was literally while I was planning this video. It was hilarious. I was sitting in my office and I was like writing out the outline, somewhat of an outline. I'm not much of a planner in videos, and I get yelled at for that all the time, but I just like to go off topics that I'm confident on and I'm passionate about. And the lady walks in, she's like, hey, I have a machine I just bought. It's an F600 Juki, and it's not working. So I go over there, I look at it, I take the bottom cover off, and immediately I find out that it had that gear issue. And it was a split plastic gear, and it's not cheap to fix. It's like $300 to $400 to fix, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. Plus the part was out of stock for like a couple months, so she's really got a bad machine, and she just bought it on Facebook. So I really felt bad, but I was like, well, this is the perfect example to share with you guys on why it is important to do these inspections and look up what I told you guys to look up so you can make sure these things work. The machine actually worked perfectly for 2 weeks, she told me, and then out of nowhere the issue happened. So this is where it would have came into great practice to know how old the machine was, because that would have saved her on this case, because the machine was close to 10 years old. So that would have really saved her if she found that out, because if she knew of that issue, plus she knew the machine was 10 years old, we know it's at its end of its life expectancy. We would have probably been able to save her there. And then also, whenever I took that bottom cover off, there was so much lint and debris packed into that machine that you could tell the person probably never cleaned it, and that causes a lot of extra stress and hurting on the machine. So if you take those covers off and you see all this lint and debris shoved up in there and it's packed down, and you take the screws off and it just pops off, you know that that person was not taking care of that machine, and that can cause extended stress onto components and cause these issues to happen, even if they're not reported as issues in the past. So I will throw up a quick little video, because I actually hooked her up with a great deal on a brand new machine, traded in her machine for parts, and I was like, hey, look, I'm gonna get you a great deal, because I would love for you to just share your story on our YouTube channel, and also if you want to, I'll show your machine and you can tell them what you think. So I shot a quick little video while we're up front, and she's like, yeah, sure, share it, I don't care, I don't want this to happen to anybody else. So here it is. Check out this video and check out what was wrong with the machine. Okay, so here is a F600 that Andrea just purchased, and after only 2 weeks, she has a major hook replacement, a repair bill that is gonna be almost the cost that she paid for the machine and almost half the cost of the machine new. Can you just validate that? How do you feel?
Never buy a used machine again.
Without getting it double checked by a service technician?
Yes, I should have brought it in. Oh.
It's okay. We're gonna hook her up with a good deal on trade, because we really do feel bad. I've never actually had this situation happen, but
it happens to me, right?
I was thinking, I was like, we're about to make a YouTube video on this, and I'm gonna talk about how to inspect used machines, how to figure out what to look for in a machine. And
the idea is something like that. You usually don't take the bottom up.
Exactly.
The only part I do know is, like I said, the black little bobbin holder.
Yep, the bobbin case.
But other than that, it was no way. And I thought, I was loving it. I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
And then it just stopped.
Yep. Well, hopefully by the time I finish this video, everybody that wants to go buy, because you can buy a used machine. There's nothing wrong with buying a used machine, but there's different steps we can do to prevent this stuff, hopefully.
Oh, don't worry.
So I'm going to hopefully make that video and hopefully save everybody.
I'm not buying a used one again.
No.
It costs too much.
Yeah. So this was one of the points I wanted to put in the video. I'm like, sometimes you can buy a used machine and then you can have this kind of situation happen. Now you're buying a new machine, so now we're over the new machine because we wanted to save some money. So I want to teach people how to do it and be efficient with it and actually be able to get a good price on certain deals, and then also just to be smart and just go with the new one.
Yeah.
Because some machines, unfortunately, there's so many different little parts on these things that that person that's typically selling it either A, never used it or inherited it, or they know there's something wrong with it, and they're posting it, you know. So there you can see she purchased this machine, and I'll give you all the facts here. She purchased it, I believe it was $600. The repair was $385 and was going to take 2 to 3 months to get this part. So the new machine, I believe that machine's going for like $11.99 or $12.99, something like that. She purchased it for $6. Now she's in it at $1,000 just to repair it, and it's still a 10-year-old machine. Now that machine is actually a pretty much, you know, it's a tank. It's a good machine. However, that little split gear issue was known, and it was known to happen at around 10 years. So if we repair that, now we have only $300 away from a new machine, or maybe even $100 away from a new machine. I can't remember what the exact new price is because they've changed because of the tariffs. She would be pretty much away from a new machine at only $100. So it was kind of one of those situations where I told her, I said, look, we'll repair it and we'll get you a good price on the repair, but it's going to be 3 months and she needs a machine now. So we kind of took it, you know, sat down, talked about it, and we're like, you know, a 10-year-old machine, putting $400 into it, she just bought it for $600, probably not worth it. Because at that point, it's still a 10-year-old machine, its life expectancy is 10 to 15 years on paper, right? It could last a lot longer than that. So we decided to go ahead and use it as a parts machine, trade it in for a new machine, and move on. But that was the perfect example, and I wanted to share that to you guys so you guys understand, even if you get the machine and it was running perfect, but you didn't go through the inspection that I was telling you guys about, you can get these kind of issues to happen. And I hate to hear that because there's nothing worse than spending that kind of money and then finding out that you literally bought something that's worth $0 after a week or two. So I hope this video really helps you guys out. Now let's go to the final step, which is finalizing the purchase. So we've gone over the inspection, we've gone over all of the steps we've talked about. It's time to just finalize the purchase. You gotta just analyze everything. So we've got all the numbers down. Maybe you take a day or two, you don't purchase it right that day. Or maybe you step outside, go to your car, and you write down all the numbers. Okay, it needs a new stitch plate, it needs this, it needs that. Now you really have to factor in whether that new machine price, whether it's $200, $300 more, $400, $500 more, $1,000 more, whether it's justified. So all the information I taught you how to get, gather it up, lay it all out on a piece of paper, and figure out if that savings is a justified purchase and it's smart to still go for it. There's many cases out there where it is. There's tons of used machines out there on the market, and I see them all the time on Facebook, and I'm like, man, that's a good deal. There's tons of them out there that are great deals, and I would say most of them might be a good deal, but there's also a lot that aren't. So it's good to sit down, think about it, write it down on paper, talk it over with a spouse, talk it over with a friend, and really analyze, is it worth that $300, $400 savings? Is it a newer machine? Is it an older machine? Make that deal, make that idea up. Call maybe a dealership and say, hey, you know, I'm looking at this machine. I see you have it listed on this price. Would you come down a couple $100? Would you come down $50? Maybe it's justified at that point now to just go with a new machine. You're getting the warranty. You're also getting that dealer connection. If you purchase from a good dealership, you're gonna get a connection for a long time. Here at Juki Junkies and Janome Junkies, we pledge our support throughout the life of the machine. So anytime you purchase a new machine through us, we're going to support you throughout the life of that machine for free. And we really do it. We get calls on a weekly basis. Hey, I got a machine, I have this question. Hey, I got a machine, I got this issue, and we are gonna help you out. I'm actually the guy that usually does. So I'm usually the guy that's FaceTiming you guys and texting you guys and walking you through these issues. I had a lady bring in a machine today, a brand new Janome 550 embroidery machine. She bought it 2-3 months ago. She brought it in, same day service, fixed it in 2 seconds, sent her back on the road, and I even serviced her other machine she brought in for her. So it's really important to also have that dealer connection. So I know everybody's on a budget, everybody's saving money, but if you analyze all these details, all this information I gave you, call us, talk to us, let us know you're on a budget, let us know the new machine might be a little out of your reach. Maybe we can discount it for you. Maybe we can make you a great deal on a new machine. Maybe we can finance it at 0%. You know, these are all options that I want to give you guys. And I want to promote you guys to buy whatever you want, used machines, new machines, but I also want to give you guys all this information so you can make the best possible decision for you, so that way you're sewing for a long time and you get it for a great price. But just remember that connection with the dealership is very important, especially if you know they're a good dealership that's really going to support you. Whether they're a local shop or even an online shop. We're a huge online shop for Juki and Janome, and we still really have a great service program, whether you're really far away or really, really close. So don't just think that if it's an online store, you won't get that support. You will. You just have to really put them to the test before you make that purchase. Check out their resources, their videos, their groups, their customer calls when they pick up the phone. Who's talking to you? Do they really know what they're talking about? Are they really helping you, or are they just trying to be a salesperson and give you a really good price but not support you? Those are all things to really factor in. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you have more questions, drop them down in the comment section below. I will try my best to help you out. Send us an email to customerservice@jukijunkies.com. Maybe you want to just share a link to a used machine and you're like, hey, I just need your honest opinion. Title it David, and I will honestly look at it and let you know if I think it's a great deal or maybe it's not a good deal, or things to look out for, whether it's a Juki or Janome. So I hope this video helped you out. Give us a like, drop those comments down below, and hit that subscribe button, because we try to post every Sunday around 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're interested in supporting our business, you can always call us to fit you in the right machine, or you can go to our website, jukiandjanomejunkies.com, and we have more than just machines. We have parts, we have notions, we've got all kinds of things you can imagine for sewing, and we are local right here in Tampa, Florida, and we ship machines all around and parts and notions. So I hope you guys had a great day. I hope this video helps you out, and we'll see you next Sunday. See you later.